We'll just test with a thumbs up. Gail and can hear me, and Julie can hear me. So John, I see your hand up. I'm going to allow you to talk before the meeting, but then I'm going to go ahead, John. You have to hit *6, I think it is.
Yeah, I didn't see anything there on the original agenda or the announcement for the meeting. Hello?
I don't know what you
Yeah.
mean by see anything, but there'll be a time that citizens can talk.
No, I didn't even get out. Somebody interrupted me. I apologize. If I can't say what I'm going to say, that's fine. I guess I'll wait till the meeting.
All right.
Hello? Hello? Oh my gosh. Let me see if it's printed. We're just Zooming a meeting and it's 4 minutes to just so I can. Are you trying to do it by telephone? Just a second. We just kind of get hopped in. I don't know. Just a second.
Well, I found out, Jim, they took my whole exhaust system.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Oh.
Isn't it something what's out there people doing? Jeez.
And now I'm dealing with the good hands people that are not that good at hands. So,
Is this you're talking about your car?
yeah, my wife's car got her catalytic converter and whole exhaust system stolen over the
How
weekend.
does that happen?
Oh my. We
Where
parked
was
it. It was
Where
at
was
the it was at an MDOT park and ride lot on exit 92 up by Battle Creek. We left it there because we went to Midland to see our grandson.
Oh
We
my.
came back yesterday and she started it and didn't sound like a 2018 Jeep Compass. It sounded like a 1991 Buick LeSabre. So with no muffler.
Oh man.
So
Oh my gosh.
I've been dealing with that all day and
can't-
haven't gotten anywhere.
That's really great. That's what we have insurance for, right?
Well, yeah, the first place I took it to, which is affiliated with the insurance company, said it'd take a month to fix it. So I took it to another place. And the insurance company now wants a virtual inspection.
So you gotta crawl on your back with your phone to take some pictures of it for them?
Well, they don't want, they want like a Zoom meeting. They want to have,
Oh, for crying out loud.
yeah. So,
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
got
yeah.
Ryan, we're missing Rick Holmes.
Yeah, I'm trying with the switch over here. Rick is just, and then the other one is Denny.
Kathleen's trying to get on. Kathleen from the gym.
It's on the website,
Okay.
so it's.
Okay. I just gave her some
Her-
number to try it.
Her issue, just a second, let me see if I can
Okay.
try to, Denny, are you?
It's 7, Tim. Are we supposed to start?
Yeah, we'll give Denny just a minute to get on.
All right.
We knew he's there. He was just on our last meeting, so.
Right.
Okay,
Andy.
he'll be on. If we've got a few citizens, Mr. Frisbee, so if you work with me a little bit once we get to that part. And I am I'll bring the flag up and then just give me a couple seconds to get your agenda up in front of everyone, okay?
Right.
He has to call us to order.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll just give him until 2 after if Denny will join or not.
he's coming on right now, looks like.
Yeah, he's right there.
Yep.
All right, we'll call to order tonight's Village Council regular session, January 18. And when Mr. Mallory's ready, we can get the flag up and we'll do it just like last time.
All right.
I pledge it.
Pledge
Allegiance
allegiance
to the
to the
flag
flag
of the
United
United
States of
States
America,
America.
and to the
and
republic
to the
the
republic
republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
indivisible,
visible,
with liberty and
liberty and justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you. We'll take a moment of silence, and when Mr. Mallory's ready, we'll do roll call.
Okay, roll call for this evening. Will be, and let me just get this corrected. Sorry about that. Roll call, trustee Keller,
Here.
trustee Holmes,
Here.
trustee Olson. I know I seen trustee Olson, let me.
Live video, there we
I'll
go.
call trustee Olson.
Yes, I'm here, Jim.
Okay, trustee Reister,
Here.
trustee Merrill,
Here. Here.
yep, I've got it. Trustee Wagner
Here.
and President Frisbee.
Here.
Everyone's in attendance and
Go.
Um,
Well, moving on to number 5, the approval of the agenda. Jim, were there some changes we wanted to make to it tonight?
I'm unaware of any changes from the staff and Mr. Frisbee.
All right. Do we have any scheduled appearances by
We need an approval.
We
of
need
the
an
agenda.
approval.
the approval?
Trustee Keller approved as submitted.
Trustee Keller has the motion. Is there support?
Trustee Holmes, support.
Trustee Holmes with the support. The roll call vote on approval of the agenda. Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Merrill,
Yes.
trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Olson. I'm not sure if we still have trustee Olson or not. Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. So we have an agenda in front of us and I don't.
Point of order, I was missed on the vote.
President Pro Temp Keller.
Yes.
All right.
That's twice. Now we have an approval of agenda. We have no public officials appearing tonight, no scheduled appearances. This time is open for citizens' comment for agenda.
Mr. Frisbee, we do have our county commissioner, Mr. Gisler, on for a public official, and I can put him on to speak.
Please do.
All right.
I'm not seeing him. Is he
It's because we're in a webinar, and that's what's taken me time to jump back and forth to make sure we don't miss any hands, but I have placed
Right.
Mr. Gisler in where he can speak.
Thank you, Jim.
Go ahead, John.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
great. I have only very short things to say today. One, in order for you to keep your meeting kosher, I think you should have indicated where each of you was located. I mean, it's obvious you're the Vicksburg Village Council, but you could be doing this from Florida because it's a virtual meeting. We have been told, and we've had to back up several times and indicate that at the county level. And we did have somebody from the airport authority that was doing it from Florida. But you wouldn't know it because their picture was up, their sound was fine, but somehow that's what the state requires. So anyway, just that small point. Then I will tell you that I am so envious of the sound system you guys have, courtesy of Alex and his team, when you are in the flesh meeting. I know it's been a long time, but that system is just incredible. I was reminded of that when the county commission had a retreat and we physically were in the same room, first time in months, at the Expo Center. And we were in the big room in the center of the Expo Center. You walk straight in the doors that say Expo Center and you walk right into that room. And they had some draperies up to sort of demarcate the room, but they weren't doing anything above 8 or 10 feet. And I think that's like a 30-foot ceiling. And to have people with no audio support, no microphones, no PAs, no nothing, try to conduct with people sitting at 8-foot wide tables to have some sort of an exchange, it was brutal. I figure I lost at least a third of what was said. And I don't think it was because of my hearing aids. I jacked them up all the way. And there were other people in the room saying, huh, what? So it just reminded me of what a great audio system you guys have when you get back in session and you go to Vicksburg meetings. Not that this isn't okay, but you're not in the same room. And Alex gets a big thumbs up for putting that together. And I know he didn't do it himself. He's a bright guy, but he had some good help. And I want you to know that I don't see that kind of, you see that, how can you see an audio system? I don't hear that kind of an audio system often. And I really do appreciate the one that the Vicksburg Village has. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Mr. Frisbee, just to clarify some questions in our analysis and with the village attorney, when council members would have to state their location is when they are not in the village. I'm well aware where all of you are when you call in for a meeting. And if you met the parameters of being outside the meeting yet remoting in, we would have that clarified. So that's the advice we got from our attorney. So
Excellent. I stand corrected.
We got Rick, trustee Holmes would like to comment.
If I could, hi, John, welcome. It's always good to have you join us. Have a question for you. The My Biz business magazine published today that despite the new state law, that State Representative Iden was responsible for moving along at the state level. Despite it being passed at the closing of the last session,
Go ahead, Denny.
it has not been, according to this article, that really there's been no time frame identified by the county commissioners to take it up. I was wondering if you have any insight or if you can offer any commentary regarding where you see any interest on the commission level in taking this up and when that may be.
Yeah,
I have not heard anything yet. I have heard a couple of rumblings, actually at that, in the flesh meeting we just had, from people who might be more interested in seeing a convention center or an arena go in downtown than I would certainly as the representative from South County. And they were down on it too. They said, you know, we don't need to stiff the people that visit here with an extra 5% or 4%, whatever it is, on their hotel bills. So I see the whole thing kind of being slow walked now, especially with Ron Kitchens going to Alabama. I think that'll buy, if nothing else, additional time, and it may be sufficient that the whole thing just goes back on the shelf for another 10 years. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, so am I. And so is a lot of people in South County. So, but well, thank you for your comments. That's much appreciated. It was interesting to see that with all the push for that to happen, and then all of a sudden it just seems like there would have been more thought locally on what the next steps were. But obviously, to the point you made, and which is also in this publication, there's not. So thank you, John.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Gisler? Hearing none, Mr. Mallory, you had contact with Denny? Olson?
Denny Olson is back on the call, and he can hear and verbalize. We should be seeing a video
There I
probably from
am.
him shortly. But he has been listening, so
Yeah.
so he is officially back on the call, and we are now at agenda item number 8, citizen comments for agenda items. And on this, if I can announce to the people, if you're on a computer, you simply have to take your cursor and highlight above the screen, and you'll see a yellow hand down at the bottom. And in fact, it says raise hand, and you click on that button if you wish to speak for 3 minutes on an agenda item. As well, if you are on a phone, you can hit *9, which will raise a hand. And if you please wait until we call on you, we'll call on who's going to speak. And then after they're done speaking, we will call on the next person. So at this time, if someone does wish to speak for 3 minutes on an agenda item, if you could please, if on a computer, click the raise hand at the bottom of the screen, or if you're on a phone call in, hit *9 and the appropriate button there to speak, please. This is for agenda items that are on the agenda. At the conclusion of the meeting, there will be comments that can be made on non-agenda items. At this time, I do not see any hands raised, so I'll ask one last time here to give people a chance, again on a computer, to move your cursor on the screen. You will see the raised hand. You can click on that, which I'll be able to see. And if you're on the phone, hit *9. And give it a few more seconds here. We do have one call in, and 5 or 6 citizens on the call, but I do not see any hand raised, Mr. Frisbee.
All right, thank you. So move to item 9, approval of the general consent agenda. Has everybody had the opportunity to review it and check for any irregularities or something that was out of line. If no more discussion on it, entertain a motion.
Julie Merrill here, making a motion to approve the general consent agenda.
Trustee Holmes, I second.
We have trustee Merrill on the motion, seconded by trustee Holmes. On the roll call vote will be trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Holmes,
Yes.
trustee Merrill,
Yes.
trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Keller,
Yes.
trustee Olson,
Yes.
president Frisbee.
Yes,
Okay.
consent agenda has been approved. Item 10, the village council action items. We have the first one up is approval of the social district application for the distant whistle.
Yes, that is just like the other 4 applications that have come in front of the council. Dane Bozell has submitted the paperwork. It was reviewed by village attorney Andrew Horn and staff. Both village attorney and staff recommend approval for the application, and then we'll be sending the packet with all 5 establishments into the state to have that move forward.
Sounds like everything's been in order and reviewed, so I've entertained a motion to accept this application to forward it on to the state.
Yes, sir. Do we hear a motion?
Yes, trustee Holmes, I make a recommendation that we approve the social district application for the distant whistle.
I'll take that as trustee Holmes is making the motion on the approval. Is there a second?
Trustee Wagner, I support.
Trustee Wagner with the support. Hearing no conversation, roll call on approving the social district application of the distant whistle will be trustee Olson,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Holmes,
Yes.
trustee Merrill,
Yes.
trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Keller,
Yes.
president Frisbee.
Yes,
President Frisbee, like 2 weeks ago, I do now have a hand raised from Mr. Steers. I don't know if it was a computer glitch or what, but I do see a hand raised. So if you're okay with it, I'd recommend I will hit the button and ask Mr. Steers to unmute. John, don't do it until I tell you I've hit the button though, please. And my assumption is, and we'll see, that he would want to speak on agenda items. John, go ahead and unmute. Can you hear me, John?
I'm here. I'm
Okay.
here.
I just confirming, okay, John, I'm confirming that you'd like to speak on agenda items.
I would.
Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
just let- John Steers, 5786 East UV Avenue. I'd like to speak on this problem with the, you all have seen this happen for about 3 or 4 meetings now. If you don't know what Zoom is about or how you operated from a telephone, and obviously this is not explained to anybody in the meeting agenda on how to properly, for us that are using the phone, how to properly use it, and for us to do that, or for us to raise our hand before the meeting, which you all heard what happened when I tried to do that it's not difficult. Me, when I push a button here, or anybody who pushes a button, this is not as was put into the last meeting minutes. Mr. Steers had difficulty operating his phone. There's no difficulty out here when we're trying to get into these meetings. If I have to spend my whole 3 minutes, getting this concept across to everybody after 3 times,
Wow.
you've all sat there for 3 times now and accused me basically of not being able to use my cell phone, and that the council can't hear, it's a glitch and everything else. I think at some time you're really going to have to suspend reality or try to figure out that all of us out here, they're not using a computer. All we're doing is pressing 2 buttons. So every time that you go and we say, oh, gee, I don't know, we're not hearing you. There must be something wrong or anything. It's just 2 buttons that we're pushing. My phone is no different than anybody else's phone. So when you refuse to go and put these things about how to properly participate in the meeting itself in your agenda, let alone clean up the agenda to figure out what phone number to call, it really kind of takes away from your credibility in terms of you wanting people to speak at these meetings. You can only so many times believe that everybody is doing something wrong that might not necessarily have something to say at the meeting that you might not like. So I suggest that, you either get a new system or you start realizing that we're not doing anything wrong out here. We're being made to look like fools for no reason. So see you at the agenda portion or the non-agenda portion of the meeting, and please try to figure it out for us if you could. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Steers.
We'll go to continue with the action items with 10B.
Um,
10B has to do with the business relief grant. We did come in front of the council, reference some financial assistance that we received through the Vicksburg Foundation to be able to offer specific category businesses in the village of Vicksburg related to state orders, including businesses that there was parameters on that. We did have 14 applications. We have provided the council with the list of the 14 businesses. Very unique and great opportunity afforded by us and the support of a local foundation. And it is staff's recommendation, was reviewed by an attorney, that receives council approval on those 14 businesses. And upon receiving that approval, we will look to disperse the money this week in our check run, which should occur Thursday. And I will contact the businesses if they want hand delivery on those checks or mail. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if there's a motion, Mr. Frisbee, your preference.
Yeah, let's go around the room. Gail, do you have any questions or comments or?
No, I just think it's a wonderful opportunity for all of the businesses, and I'm glad that we were able to provide this for them.
Merrill?
how were people in the village, these businesses, how were they approached?
The businesses that we felt were eligible, we had contact with and created some Zoom calls and so I went through and identified the businesses that we felt met the parameters of the desired criteria.
Okay.
Trustee Keller?
I just think it's a great opportunity for our small businesses here. It's been tough on everybody, but I think this is a community thing. So this is awesome.
Trustee Holmes?
I just think it's a great example of how private and public can come together for a solution instead of one side looking at the other for a solution. Mr. Mallory, just one question, and that is when you're talking with local merchants, I know this is possibly a difficult question to answer, but what assessment do you make of their comments to you as far as their situation? I mean, are there very many that you're hearing are pretty dire circumstances? To the best of your ability, I'd appreciate any perspective you might be able to give.
I think in my comments are somewhat operational because I attempt not to get into the private sector's data points that they would use. My family has owned multiple private sector businesses for upwards of 40 years now. But in this process, I obviously have witnessed by relay the strains and stresses of locally owned businesses, small businesses, coupled with frustrations. Those frustrations being grant dollars available at the state and federal level, where it is announced that they're specifically for small businesses and to aid. Very frustrated at the system attempting to log on and get into the queue for an opportunity to receive those grant dollars. That was included in the stimulus packages that came out months ago. To the point on the other spectrum, businesses really thriving from taking an opportunity to get a niche in the marketplace and going forward. It obviously, most I feel in the village of Vicksburg has impacted our restaurants and our, as well as event centers, people who have, open businesses have small gatherings, whether it's, I know down Village Works and different pottery classes and art classes to Wrapped in Gratitude. And these are small businesses owned by individual families. So I certainly, not specific to any name business I might have named, but in general have seen the impact this worldwide pandemic. I've also noticed and was really pleased, at least 3 of our businesses talked about how a couple food establishments that had predominantly takeout business talked about how their business was up. And as long as the totality of grant dollars would continue to be distributed, they felt it was better to help their business neighbors out more with that money, which I felt went really to the community. Some of those businesses on paper you would think are competitors, but being a small community, being family owned, really looking out for each other and promoting each other, and especially during these difficult times. Now, I will say as well, I've been disappointed in some local businesses that haven't followed the expectations of the governor's edicts. And first and foremost, as a public servant, we can, whether we're talking drinking water or any other aspect, one of the fundamental obligations we have is the safety of our citizens. And, that's one uniqueness we have here in the village is this is apolitical. You guys don't run in a political primary. It's a village. We work together and we demonstrate within the rules that are given to us through the state legislator or through a governor's executive order. It is in the best interest of our community and our citizens. So it's been disappointing. Some of those businesses have consciously elected not to follow those. And I know businesses that have had contact with state officials in that. So, but I'd like to conclude on a very positive note. Specific to this grant, I assure you, each of these 14 businesses are going to be very, very positively impacted on this. and as well as the 3 businesses just are noteworthy, and I might look at a future council meeting, even highlighting those businesses. I hate to do it cold without asking them first, because they certainly didn't do it in a manner that wanted notoriety or anything, but I think it really goes to that community-ness of those 3 businesses who said, hey, we're doing pretty good right now. I think the money could assist some of these other people. So I don't want to get too long-winded or too non-specific. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you. Thank you.
Trustee Wagner?
Well, Jim actually stole what I was going to say. I was going to ask if you could politely communicate with those businesses that elected to pass up the funds to give them the opportunity to be recognized. So I'm glad that that's already in the works to be done. But it's fantastic. I mean, we've got 14 businesses accepting these funds. And like I said at last council meeting, I'm glad to have these businesses still in our community, you know, if this is what helps to keep them here.
Very good. Trustee Olson?
I'm just glad that we have the funds available for them, and I wish each and every one of them well. So very proud of them. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and I don't, Kathleen Willis has raised her hand a few seconds ago. I don't know if we can certainly take that, Mr. Frisbee, if you want.
Well, we can't be set a
Yeah,
different protocol here. You know, we've got a defined agenda, defined points to speak.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we
Yeah.
just go
And
with
I
citizen comment?
I do think it's important to know that the whole Open Meeting Act is designed so the public can, this is your guys' board meeting to handle the business of the village, that to be observed by citizens. And the actual act as interpreted by our attorney certainly does have time for citizen comments, but that's
I think we
what
should
it
wait
is. So,
until the
and that's-
citizen comments.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just I know I'm looking at the screen and I don't think it's viewable by each of you. So we can continue on with
Yeah,
the
let's do so,
comments,
please.
and we have another section within the program for citizen comments where I think it's noteworthy. We're pretty much the only municipality that offers 2 times as well.
Yes, indeed. You know, with that, I think I had everybody had an opportunity to talk about it. One of the questions I wanted to ask, and we're pretty confident that we've got all the businesses covered in the sense that we've had communication with all qualified for this.
Yes, it'd be my understanding. Yes.
All right. Well, I will entertain a motion to accept the staff recommendation for the grant awards.
Trustee Keller, I make a motion to approve the relief grants for the 14 businesses as recommended by village staff.
Do we hear a second?
Support. Trustee Reister.
Trustee Keller on the motion, seconded by Trustee Reister. And roll call vote. Roll call vote. Trustee Olson,
Yes,
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
Trustee Merrill,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. And to further that, we are a very fortunate community to have the generous foundation that we have that saw the need and stepped up. And I think they see what we're doing as the leadership of this community and know that we're being responsible for the residents' monies. And, you know, that goes a long way with people stepping up and, you know, donating this kind of funds to our village. So we're very grateful for them. Thank you. So we move on to 10C with the approval of the meeting dates.
Correct.
For
We have supplied the 2021 Village Council regular scheduled meetings. We have included 4 times for work sessions that we are anticipating. 3 additional times, all related to the preparation of the 2021-2022 budget preparation, and staff is recommending council to approve those dates.
So I gotta look at the critical ones, right? You got Valentine's Day, you got my anniversary, the wife's birthday. That looks pretty good to me. Anybody else?
President Frisbee, can I just share a comment? The dates look fine. Mr. Mallory, the one thing I wanted to ask is that 2 years ago, we did a celebration of community at one of our council meetings and it went really well. Obviously, this past year with COVID, not much celebrating in this community. With the vaccination schedule as is, I believe June, July timeframe, we've got a lot to celebrate. Not that I'm looking for a resolution that we agree upon doing it this year, but would ask that we have some consideration, if you and President Frisbee and staff would consider us looking at one of those dates, and let's call everybody out. I mean, bring your wedding dress, bring whatever you had this year that you couldn't celebrate, and let's all get together and hold hands and celebrate and cut the cake and enjoy each other's company.
It's a great idea, Rick, but I'm having a really hard time getting an appointment for this vaccination, so
Yeah.
it may be
won't get
later than
this
what
shot.
you think.
We'll probably take an approach right now and kind of target that August 16th or September 20th date, preferably the 16th since it's in the summer.
Better.
Gets us some stretched out time there, but as we get closer, I think the important is the dates, and then as we get closer, we'll announce which one would be good to hold. I think that was an excellent event, Rick. You make a good point at the pavilion there.
Yep, agreed. No, that was good. We need to think of that. And be proactive in that. So take a motion.
Julie Merrill here. I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2021 Village Council meeting dates.
Jenny Olson, I second that.
Okay. Trustee Merrill with the motion and trustee Olson with the second. And we'll go trustee Keller,
Yes.
trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Merrill,
Yes.
trustee Holmes,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Olson,
Yes,
President Frisbee.
Yes. Thank you, Jim. So we got 10B, our capital plan with recommendation for financial commitments.
Yes.
This is the cool part.
Yeah, it's, let me make sure. Basically, we, all trustees on the council since, at least 2016, when I started, we really rely on experts within, especially when we talk about fiscal responsibility and transparency. Michigan Municipal League relied quite heavily on Steve Breyer with Siegfried Crandall and now Aaron Stevens in his auditing firm as well. But we provide the Michigan Municipal Handbook for General Law Villages. And to quote that General Law Village Officials Handbook in quotes, few municipalities have cash resources to finance facilities with large price tags and long life, such as a new municipal office, a new water treatment facility, a new civic center, or other long-term capital improvements. Most must incur debt in the form of a bond issue to finance such improvements to facilities, similar to a home buyer who must incur debt in the form of a mortgage. It stresses the incurring of debt by a municipality should be considered amongst the most serious of all courses of action available to a village council. End the quotes. A consistent goal of the village council throughout my tenure being the village manager has been to be a steward of our fiscal obligations and to guard our village millage rate with utmost importance. That action would benefit all taxpaying citizens and businesses within the village of Vicksburg. I have been proud to report that we met the goal of lowering our millage rate, the first in Kalamazoo County to anyone's memory, and potentially the only village in the last 50 years to do so in the state of Michigan. That was on July 1st, 2019, when we lowered the millage rate by nearly 1/2 of a mill. Again, it was the first time in our village's history that the millage rate was reduced without being required to do so by state of Michigan statute. I still hope that that was a clear indicator to our citizens that we are governing on their behalf. Anytime that long established culture is impacted by the edict to improve, there are those that doubt, those that resist, and those that adapt. When the winds of change, which have swept through our municipal government over the past 48 months first began, we all had a front seat to this occurrence. I believe this room tonight is filled with those that choose to adapt, those that choose to recognize the potential in the village of Vicksburg, and those that were willing to roll up their sleeves and commit to operating a municipal government based on best practices. For that, I thank all of you. As a municipal manager, I understand it's not my job nor your expectation, as I've said many times, that I am liked. Instead, I'm charged with the expectation and responsibility to make decisions that puts our village first, and that I provide this council with information and data so that the majority can set the policy that we, as staff, are charged with executing. It is also my firm devotion that we will operate a government with an unwavering foundation of unimpeachable integrity and absolute transparency to all. Over the past 4.5 years, we've been very fortunate to have members of our village council have set clear goals and objectives for our staff to accomplish. The foundation of these goals and objectives have been to have sound financial management and complete transparency. Together, we have put forth policies and actions that required your support and approval. For those approvals and support, on behalf of our entire staff and myself, I extend a heartfelt thank you. Though we have accomplished our goal of lowering the millage rate, it remains my firm advice and recommendation that we need to continue the path of the past 4 fiscal years. We simply cannot return to the recent times of taking on projects that are too big in scope, not realistic in accomplishment, and created on financial mathematics that make no sense. We cannot return to an era that has subunits of government taking actions that have negative and at times dire consequences to the expectations and goals of the village council. We cannot return to an era that has our village engaging in practices that were not proper and performances that fell far short of basic municipal governance. It's my sincere belief that the village council, subunits of government, and our public are beginning to understand what can be accomplished when a municipality of our size operates under the best practice model of municipal government. Each of you have been provided with Michigan Municipal League statement contained in the General Law Village Handbook. The incurring of debt by a municipality should be considered amongst the most serious of all courses of actions available to a village council. I am proud of the fact that we haven't in the past 4 fiscal year budgets, nor will we be presenting any additional general fund debt obligation to this council in the 2021-2022 fiscal year budget. To continue the journey we have charted the past 4 fiscal years, it's vital that we continue to invest the village's revenue wisely, to ensure that each dollar that is entrusted to us withstands scrutiny, is ultra transparent, and has been provided an opportunity to reflect the wishes and desires of the majority. 2 major accomplishments have been reached that should demonstrate to the public we serve that we are committed to financial responsibility and transparency. The first is the addition of what we have titled a Financial Transparency Center section and this can be found on our website when you click on the big banner that reads Financial Transparency. If you click on the banner, it'll take you to the page, and at the bottom of the page is a banner titled Village of Vicksburg Transparency Center. Within this section of our website, our citizens can see where each dollar is committed to, ongoing projects and their individual status, and other important communications involving our finances. You know, speaking of our website, it's coming up on almost a year that it was completely redesigned. I encourage everyone to visit our website at vicksburgmi.org. Within the past year, we became the first governmental unit in South Kalamazoo County to live stream government meetings. And due to COVID, I believe we are the only government unit in South County to hold all of our regular scheduled meetings in the calendar year 2020, as well as recording those Zoom meetings and putting them up on YouTube for all citizens to see. I'd personally like to thank our Director of Community Engagement, Alex Lee, for ensuring we continue to be transparent in this manner. I will take the liberty to reinforce to everyone that our expectation as staff is to continue to present financial plans that will provide the best opportunity to continue to not increase the tax burden on our citizens. This has and will always be my foundation that motivates me to serve as your village manager, to lower the financial burden for everyone while providing wow service at every opportunity we can. I certainly feel and see the financial burdens that some families and businesses are going through in our community. I'm the one that receives the phone calls about the struggles to pay utility bills. I will say that there are a slight few in the community who are late in paying their utility bill every single quarter. And to be blunt, they have not committed to establishing a personal budget and make a conscious decision to meet their financial obligations. However, there are more than a slight few who have relayed their situations, sometimes in strict confidence, and those stories have torn me apart. Stories that have motivated me to attempt to utilize every outside financial resource known to me, including my wife and I's own finances, to help those that are truly in need. These stories that motivate me daily to do everything I can as a leader in this municipality to ensure that the dollars that have been entrusted with us, dollars that are so precious to them, are invested in a manner that we all can be proud of. Unfortunately, the fact is we are operating an aging sewer system. Some parts date back to the early 1940s. We know that there will be critical needs in the not too distant future. It is imperative that we have our municipality in the best financial shape possible to address the anticipated and predictable upgrades that are needed to serve our village in the 2020s. However, in these unforeseen economic times that have been so impacted by the COVID-19 virus, too many Vicksburg residents and businesses have been financially hurt. I know this council joins me in our mutual desire that 2021 will bring a closure to the impact of this deadly virus, and we can return to times that we can responsibly gather, socialize, and most importantly, open all aspects of our economy. An important aspect of being able to avoid taking on additional debt is to pay for capital improvements with cash money. The capital improvement plan for the village of Vicksburg has been substandard at best and non-existent at worst. 3 years ago, this village council began a shift in the philosophy of the capital improvement plan for the village of Vicksburg when it voted to place money into certain governmental classifications. These classifications were the dollars that were placed in the committed and assigned areas. The team has spent some time developing and improving the capital improvement plan since that date. We will continue to refine it as we formally present the proposed 2021-2022 fiscal year budget this June. The list is developing and ongoing as it will be presented in greater depth throughout the upcoming budget process. We have focused on large capital asset based on policy expectations from previous village council. I've provided this village council with a spreadsheet detailing the capital asset improvements and an annual schedule of purpose and or replacement for what is now known. Based on numerous recommendations of governmental oversight, we know that at minimum, and I repeat, at minimum, unrestricted, unassigned general fund balance should be 17%. We also know that as recent as 2014, the Village of Vicksburg's unrestricted, unreserved fund was less than 5%. We heard tonight during a work session from 2 financial municipal auditors with each over 20 years experience and thousands of municipal audits under their belt that our fiscal year of 2019-2020 ended with an unrestricted, unassigned general fund balance of 78%. If we added the committed general fund balance, that would be over 134%. We also heard from those auditors, independent of the Village of Vicksburg, announced at the work session that the financial recovery this village has been on the past 4 years is unprecedented in Steve Breyer's 22 years of fiscal auditing of municipalities. It's been accomplished with a team effort. And as always, if I'm talking about a team, I'll begin with my wife, as I try to not miss an opportunity to thank her for her support and understanding during stretches of days with long hours, after hours of long phone calls and inquiries, and countless interruptions of time that should be spent with family. The largest and most important thank you and gratitude I extend tonight is to my wife of nearly 28 years, Stephanie. Thank you, and I love you very much. And thank you for the support you have provided. Specific to the team, Michelle Morgan is that needed rock of stability within our office, committed to doing what is right while knowing there is never a right time to do what is wrong. Her leadership of the office staff has been impactful and much appreciated. Denise Harold has been a godsend for me personally and this village. Placed in the precarious position of utility clerk, she has performed with nothing but calm professionalism and a willingness to solve problems. We continue to consistently review and improve our utility invoicing, and the credit for this in large part goes to Denise. To the newest member of our team, Diane Gillen, it is evident within the first 2 months of you joining Team Vicksburg, you will fit right in. I appreciate your positiveness displayed, no matter the request or assignment given. Randy Skippers is a true leader in every sense of the word. The efforts of the DPW crew are unmatched for any municipality our size. What our public does not see, nor is it readily observed by individuals outside of DPW, is the amount of love and passion that each of them put into their responsibilities. I believe that the decorations they hung throughout the downtown for our Christmas season demonstrate this passion. Speaking of Christmas, it was Christmas Eve when Randy and his crew had to leave their homes and respond to a waterman break that occurred within the village. They did without complaint or negativity. And for this and all you guys do for the entire village, I give a big shout out of thanks to Randy, and please extend our gratitude to your team. Our police chief, Scott Sanderson, has implemented a plan of community interaction and service. This has placed a distinct value in our investment in the department and our team of officers. With Scott's assistance, the days of discontent and division have faded to a distant memory. Financially, the department's 47% of our general fund revenue, and in part due to Scott's leadership, this was reduced from over 55% in recent years. We are living in an era of heightened scrutiny of police officers' actions. I am proud of the leadership that Chief Sanderson has displayed, the expectations that he has conveyed to his team, and the performance of each officer. I cannot properly articulate my respect and gratitude that I have for them individually and police officers in general. As always, it is a nightly prayer of mine that every officer in this country goes home safe. To Bobby Durkee, we all appreciate your passion and expertise in the area of planning and zoning. You have brought a skill set that this village has not seen, and you personally had a dramatic impact on bringing multiple businesses to our community. Some of those include MCM's expansion, Dutch Boys Hot Rods, Turning Leaf, Trust Shield Insurance, just to name a few. Steve Breyer and Ann Knopfel from Siegfried Candle have added a layer of experience unmatched within our office. Their advice and work product as it relates to financial matters has been invaluable. And thank you. Mr. Alex Lee, as always, I can't properly convey how much I rely on your advice, guidance, and ultimately execution and performance. Your calm demeanor, commitment to doing what is right, and service to others above self is unmatched. Our village is blessed to have you among its ranks. And again, from the depths of my heart, I personally thank you for joining this team. I'm pleased to report that we have gone another year without any payroll penalties from the IRS or contacts from unpaid vendors, nor threats of repossession of any heavy machinery. The system that has been put in place and the policies that this council and previous councils have enacted and the entire team's performance deserves some recognition and appreciation. Last and maybe most important for me as your direct subordinate is my gratitude to the members of past village councils and the current village council for your support and understanding during this era of change. I'm quite aware of what the winds of change bring to a long-established culture. I am comfortable that we are well on our way to becoming a model municipality of our size in this entire country. The journey's been enlightening, entertaining, and educating the past 54 months as your village manager. I'm proud of the accomplishments of the team, and I look forward to the future. I spoke 3 years ago and have reinforced during multiple occasions since. It's my expectation we will become that model municipality of our size in the country. I remain committed to this expectation. The expectation that we are a leader for villages throughout our area, the state, the Midwest, and even, yes, the country. To reach it, we will need to faithfully pledge and repledge with our integrity on the line that we will be fiscally responsible and thoroughly transparent in our actions. And that's what I pledge before each of you present, those that are viewing us live and those who may watch this archived video in the future. That I'll do my absolute best to ensure that each and every dollar entrusted to the team that I lead will be cared with fiscal responsibility, and that we will be transparent in every action we take. Most importantly to me, I pledge this with the full and accepting knowledge that my professional integrity is on the line should we fail. I've never been more confident that we will reach our expectations as well as the goal we have placed before us. The future is definitely very bright for the village of Vicksburg. Others in municipal work must be jealous of the opportunities that are on our horizon. It's now time to continue on that journey. And with that, Mr. Frisbee, I'll be happy to read Resolution 01-18-2021-1 as it relates to our recommendations for the commitments and assignments with the money that was that we have to add to that pot.
Please do, Jim.
I will. I try to share it, so see if it comes up.
Oh.
All right, resolution 01-18-2012. Whereas in accordance with Government Accounting Standards Board, the GASB, statement number 54, fund balance reporting and government fund type definitions. And whereas fund balance classifications depict the nature of net resources that are reported in a government fund, an individual government fund may include non-spendable resources and amounts that are restricted, committed, or assigned or any combination of those classifications. The general fund may also include an unassigned amount. And whereas fund balances are to be reported in government funds under the following categories using definitions provided by GASB statement number 54. We go through and that non-spendable fund balance, the definitions include amounts that cannot be spent because they are either A, not in a spendable form, or B, legally or contractually required to be maintained intact. And its examples are long-term accounts receivable and prepaid expenses. Classifications, non-spendable amounts will be determined before all other classifications and consist of the following items. The village will report a fund balance equal to the balance of any long-term outstanding balances due from others. The village will report a fund balance equal to the value of inventory balances and prepaid items to the extent that those balances are not offset with liabilities and actually result in a fund balance. The village will report a fund balance equal to the principal of any permanent funds that are legally and contractually required to be maintained intact. The village will report a fund balance equal to the balance of any land or any non-financial assets held for sale. Restricted fund balance, the definition includes amounts that can only be spent for specific purposes stipulated by the Constitution, external resource providers, or through enabling legislation. Committed fund balance includes amounts that can be used only for specific purposes determined by a formal action of the Village of Vicksburg Council by means of resolution. The authority to commit commitments will only be used for specific purposes pursuant to a formal action of the council. A majority vote is required to approve a commitment, and a majority vote is required to remove a commitment. Assigned fund balance definition includes amounts intended to be used by the village for specific purposes but do not meet criteria to be classified as restricted or committed, determined by a formal action of the Village of Vicksburg Council by means of a motion. The governmental funds other than the general fund assigned fund balance represents a remaining amount that is not restricted or commitment. The authority to assign assignments will only be used for specific purposes pursuant to a formal action of the council. A majority vote is required to approve an assignment, and a majority vote is required to remove an assignment. The unassigned fund balance includes the residual classification of the village's general fund, includes all spendable amounts not contained in other classifications. In other funds, the unassigned classification should be used only to report a deficit balance from overspending for specific purposes for which amounts had been restricted, committed, or assigned. The specific resolution continues, whereas the Village of Vicksburg deems it appropriate to commit the following amounts to committed fund balance categories. A tax stabilization fund in the amount of $150,000. The tax stabilization fund will account for funds set aside for the sole purpose of establishing a fund in which the monies are contingency, and the tax stabilization reserve fund may only be used when an unrestricted deficit condition that would formulate a deficit elimination plan under the Glenn Steele State Revenue Sharing Act of 1971, Public Act 140 of 1971, Section 21, subsection 2. The second and last amount of money recommended to be committed is the municipal building carryover for building outlay, $975,000. The Vicksburg Village Hall needs to be replaced with a modern facility. This building was built in the 1950s as a doctor's office and is inadequate for the needs of a municipal building in 2020. Our plan is to have an amount saved over the next 4 fiscal years that will enable the village to begin construction in somewhere between 2022 and 2024. That will read. Whereas the Village of Vicksburg deems it appropriate to assign the following amounts to the assigned fund balance categories. And they're enumerated $100,000 on the assignment. These assignments, this will add to the assignment balance already in each category. An additional $100,000 to the DPW pole barn building, $10,000 to the defined benefit pension reserve, $9,000 to DPW heavy equipment, $2,500 to DPW Bobcat, $12,000 on DPW pickup truck, $9,500 on the patrol vehicle for the police department, $1,000 on weapon system, $1,000 on communications and radios, $10,000 for technology for the village, $10,000 for the Parks and Rec to go towards the Sunset Beach Boardwalk, $20,000 for the large parking lot, which is in back of the hardware store, and $15,000 for a DPW downtown snow brush machine. Once we get the new streetscapes in place, we're not going to want a blade to push the snow on the sidewalk, but an appropriate snow brush machine. That amount totaled there in the assignments is equal to the amount of money, while still leaving that 78% unrestricted unassigned general fund balance in place, and goes to totals previously stated and documented through the village. I know that's long-winded for a resolution, but I'd be happy to answer any questions from the council.
Trustee Reister,
Nothing.
trustee Merrill,
When we do the streetscape, was there going to be anything coming up with heating the sidewalks versus shoveling them?
No,
I know we
because,
talked about it.
yeah, we looked into it, and the price
expensive?
tag would be over $1 million. So
All right.
it didn't make the cut.
Okay, enough said.
trustee Keller,
As far as the heating of the sidewalks, they tried that downtown Kalamazoo years ago, and it turned into a fiasco with the bricks and everything else. And as an electrical person, it's no. But I do want to say I'm very happy to see that we're continuing with what we're doing. It's just smart.
trustee Holmes,
Thanks, President Frisbee. Mr. Mallory, how many budgets have you done so far? Is this your sixth, if I'm correct?
Oh, for
For the village.
I've done 5 for the village, and previous to that, as a staff member for the city of Kalamazoo, 16 additional ones there.
I'm just curious. We've all in our work sessions have seen the improvement to the village finances over the last 5 years. I'm just curious from your perspective, and if you look at the way that we're budgeting now, was that the way that the village budgeted prior to your arrival?
The short answer to that is I don't believe so. One was there was not an existing capital improvement plan. Our basic, the council's policy and expectation of me and staff is to predict what purchases are needed in the future and to save money for those purchases. One of our upcoming agenda items is for a new patrol vehicle that's needed, and we'll get into those details. But I think in the past, they'd look at that price tag of $42,500 and have to determine if that was in the current fiscal year. And that would have to, it wasn't planned for probably in the best way. That request that is coming up before you, that $42,500 has been saved prior to one tax dollar that was received in this 2020-2021 fiscal year. So what is being done and with the financial committee, the council members that are on that, and certainly staff is aware, we're in a very positive way compounding our money by saving for these capital improvement plans. I will, because it's certainly deserving, so early on in 2017 and 18, I solicited financial support from the Vicksburg Foundation for some capital needs that were truly in dire shape and needed to be replaced. And the foundation stepped up and awarded us that grant money. And what that allowed us to do was to get, not put a Band-Aid on something, but actually I mean, and again, to the citizens, this council's well aware, but to the citizens, we're not going out buying top shelf Cadillac products. We had a 1990 vac truck. We updated it I think 2 years ago to a 2014. That's a $600,000 new piece of equipment. We were able, again, with some help from the Vicksburg Foundation, to purchase that at $170,000. And we've seen in the last 2 years how valuable a piece of equipment is. That's about $1,000 an hour if you're calling one in from the outside. The other is, I mean, I can go on and on, Mr. Holmes, on the different equipment that we've purchased, but we're laying this out in a spreadsheet that truly goes right now to the 27-28 fiscal year. That I try to continually reinforce, we take all this input from the council, and the council gets it from citizens in an appropriate manner on the priorities. And then we use the experience of the financial team to chart out. I think one thing that's gotten better from my aspect than maybe when I first started for the village is communicating the timeline that we can make things happen. I hope people are seeing that their desires on a capital investment, whether the Sunset, Beach Boardwalk to one of these parking lots, when we create a realistic plan, I think we've gotten better communicating what year to expect that to be delivered. That when we're saying no, it's not that we're saying no, we don't agree with you that the village needs it, or no, it can't be done. It's now, hey, just give us a little bit of patience, and on this year we'll pull this off. Just like the parking lots that were put in, a brand new parking lot and repaving behind Main Street, all planned in past years and developed through budget presentations. I listened when I first started in 2016 in different governmental meetings, how the parking lot behind the hardware, definitely would love to redo it. I was told, we're going to get this grant money or that grant money. And it's just not out there like people say. And you're competing with a lot of different municipalities. I'm confident we'll pull that new parking lot, which is about $600,000 off in the 25-26 or 26-27 timeframe. In the interesting fact is when we put ourselves in this financial position, it actually avails ourselves to more grants actually getting accepted because we have the money in the bank for those matching funds. So I'll pause there if that answered your question or follow-up questions.
It did, because Jim, what I'm hearing is in the last 5 years, I've been part of the council this is my third budgetary review with council. And the one thing that initially I didn't understand as well as I do today is the fact of budgeting, the professional way that the approach is taken, the very structured, transparent way has had an impact. And I mean, everything you've said, it's clear that, it enables us to look further down the road at needs and to be able to be, trying to be not only good stewards of the existing money, but what it also enables us to do is to budget responsibly for those needs. This community has a lot of needs, but in a limited budget. And the reason why I asked you that question is that it's not only to thank you and staff for where we're at today, but as the recent audit showed, just 5 years ago, our unrestricted general fund showed $78,000. And I believe that number is closer to 2.1 million now. Folks, nothing changed in the amount of revenue came in. So what was going on 6, 7, 8 years ago? I know none of us want to look backwards. We're going to move forward. But I think it's fair to say, when you look at how the finances are running in the village, it's transparent, it's professional, It's focused on the needs of the people. We get a lot of input from people, needs, wants, wishes. And I'm impressed and appreciative again for the way that we're doing this and being part of the financial committee. I can share with fellow council members that kudos, Jim, kudos to you and staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Trustee Wagner.
Can't follow that up. No comments.
Yeah. Trustee Olson.
The more I see, the more my respect for Jim and Randy and Scott grows. I don't think there's a police officer out there that I have any more respect for than Scott Sanderson. And as far as Jim and Randy goes, my respect shot right through the roof this last summer during the duck rescue over on Trillium. To see Jim plop down on the road and stick his head in that hole, and Randy came over and crawled down the hole I couldn't begin to fit into. Within less than 20 minutes or so, we had those 3 baby ducks rescued and back with their mama. To know that they care that much about baby ducks, let alone this community. I'm overwhelmed by what these guys do every day. So I appreciate you. Jim, everybody else might hate you. I like you a hell of a lot. That's all I've
Well, it's
got.
hard to follow up on that, Denny. Thank you for those comments, everybody. So with that, I entertain a motion to enter into this resolution.
Yeah, Trustee Wagner, I make a motion to approve resolution 01182021-1 as written.
Trustee Holmes, I second.
Trustee Wagner on the motion, trustee Holmes on the second. Trustee Keller,
Yes.
trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Merrill,
Yes.
trustee Olson,
Yes,
trustee Holmes,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Thank you for that, team. So 10E, we've got a patrol vehicle that we've just discussed how we've been budgeting to get to this point where we can buy it.
Yes, and I guess what I'll do is just highlight the need. The vehicle is replacing a 2013. It's completed its 8 years of service as a frontline vehicle, over 100,000 miles on it. And once you reach the data points of the industry would indicate a vehicle, once it reaches the lifespan of that 2013, we're going to absorb maintenance cost, et cetera. And as we said, we started saving for this vehicle 2.5 years ago. So staff is recommending council support not to spend in excess of $42,425. Just highlights the vehicle itself normally runs $39,375, but Chief Sanderson utilized the My Deals program that we're a member of. So that cost is affixed at $33,625. And we have currently 1 quote. We're soliciting 2 more on outfitting. It is one of the keeping vehicles around 8 years. The design of that patrol vehicle has changed where we can't swap out that 2013 divider, the protection between the back seat and front seat where the officer in different light bars we want to update to be consistent with what we put on the road. So that's where we're saying that amount will not exceed that additional $8,800, I believe it is. But I'll be happy to answer any questions, and Chief Sanderson as well is on the call if there's questions.
I won't go around and ask everybody. If anybody does have a question for staff, just chime in. Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to enter into a purchase agreement.
I move that, Denny Olson, I move that we purchase a 2021 Ford Explorer patrol vehicle for Chief Sanderson for his department.
Trustee Keller, support.
Trustee Olson makes the motion and trustee Keller supports. Roll call vote will be trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Merrill,
Yes.
trustee Holmes,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Olson,
Yes.
trustee Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes,
Motion
motion
passes.
carries. And we'll move on to 10F, 2021 staff compensation.
Correct.
We've
Council,
had- Go right ahead, Jim.
I'm sorry, Mr. Frisbee, if I cut you off.
I just wanted to preface it for all those that are on the line and would future listening. There has been countless hours of discussion about this subject. So if you don't hear a lot of discussion on here, that's because it's all been done one-on-one with the staff, with Jim, interacting with individual council members, where we're at, how we got here today. And if I may say, just a little bit ahead of the game, but we want to put ourselves in the position to succeed with the staff. We're looking at the quality of staff and the retention of the staff. This entering into this agreement, if we so choose to do it, isn't setting a precedent for following years of wage increases. What we're trying to do now is get our team, our staff elevated to a point where they're compensated fairly amongst their peer groups. And with that, I'll let Jim carry into it.
Yeah, the conversations certainly focused with the Human Resource Committee that is set up through the council. And I think the foundation of it was an outside entity, the Michigan Municipal League, conducted a pretty thorough study identifying comparable municipalities that corresponded with the village of Vicksburg, as well as the job classifications within each of the positions at the director level. The comparison on the municipalities was a multi-point comparison that went deeper and wider than population, did taxable value and other factors. That presentation was given to the council back at a work session on December 7th. I think as well, looking at the director's position and my recommendations where they fell were on the experience of the team that we've put together, as well as the results of the performance. So the council has those figures in front of you. Be happy to answer any specific questions or listen to comments from the council.
Trustee Reister.
I think I'm on the Human Resources Committee, and we did spend a lot of time discussing this. And I think that the package that we're presenting tonight is completely fair. And I feel as though all of the people who will benefit from this deserve the new amount. So I highly recommend it.
Trustee Merrill.
I'm just glad that you guys did all the work of that. So I appreciate the input and I'm comfortable with it. Thanks.
Trustee Keller, any questions or comments for the staff?
Oh, he's
He's muted.
Sorry. I think we should make sure that the public understands that when they talk about, the Human Resource Committee did the legwork on this. Any discussions that were had were non-quorum, and they were basically just if we had any, those of us who are not on the Resource Committee, if we had any questions regarding. So I think it may have been a red flag might have gone up that, and just to assure citizens that there's no backdoor deals going on. There's no deals at the Hideaway, and we're sitting there talking about stuff. I'm not disparaging the Hideaway. I'm just saying they need to understand the Human Resource Committee did the heavy lifting on this. So, and this is not new. We went through this back in December with the MML. So just so everybody understands.
President Frisbee, it's Trustee Holmes. Just a quick comment if I could. In following up with what Trustee Keller said and also Trustee Reister, I think the HR committee did a great job. The MML, when they presented the study that we use as a basis to level set the employees, I think that was great that we're using analytics. We're trying to use, industry-wide data or municipal-wide data to make sure that, we're competitive and totally transparent. And to Trustee Keller's point, everything was discussed very clearly. The one thing I'll share with my fellow council members that Mr. Mallory and I talked about this morning is that I wish I would have, when the MML was presenting, I wish I would have identified then what I identified when I was reviewing this information. That is that if possible, it would have been nice to have some additional metrics in which to use this. Not to say that it was essential and the decision that was finally came upon, but I think that it would have given a different perspective. And the reason, and then when talking with Mr. Mallory, the thing we identified is realistically, when you start getting more granular, such as in these metrics I'm talking about, the reality is some of the municipalities we talked about, they're run a little bit differently. Some have millages for their fire and safety. We don't. So it's things like that when you start looking at trying to get a little bit granular, creates a little bit more challenge. My point in sharing all of this with you is that I do appreciate the comments that were shared by President Frisbee, that the idea isn't in moving forward that we're going to continue to see these, that it is, we're trying to level set staff. But again, the point I wanted to make is, for me personally, it would have been, I think, in being on the finance committee, and that's part of my world, there's some matrix again that I would have enjoyed having an opportunity to review. But again, that's on me. I should have come up with this, or I should have said something during the MML review in December.
Yeah, Rick, point well taken. With your background in that area, that we could have, engaged without a quorum, and perhaps one of us stepped out to have you better engaged, because we did spend considerable amount of time with the MML, and the way we expected to see this all laid out. The first go round with them, it was hang on.
Whoops.
Well, why don't you go to your computer, Tim? I think he's going to move to his computer now.
Where did I leave off? But I was talking about getting Rick more involved and others more involved in that. But we spent a lot of time with the MML. When what they came back with it the first time was pretty much a statewide response. Really did dig down to the bottom and the core of what we were looking for. We tried to compare as much as we could from a financial revenue standpoint, from number of citizens, the number of staff. And it took 3 shots to get there with the MML to get what we were looking for. Because what they would dumped on us, it would have bogged us down for months. I mean, they gave us umpteen dozen spreadsheets and points of view. And but there was a lot of talk and a lot of communication. So Rick, I'll take that on myself next time to, maybe back out of when we're in that type of discussions with that relates to some of the financial area, and you being on the finance committee. I may should have thought about that earlier. So thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for your comments too. Trustee Wagner.
Yeah, I'm first time committee member on the HR committee. So thank you for the opportunity. It was as Rick said, learning a whole lot throughout the process. It's my first term on the council as a trustee, as well as being assigned to these important subcommittees, and felt like a lot of the work got done well, and learning how to do that work and what we were comparing turned out to be really effective. And I'm pretty confident in what we're delivering. But to Rick's point, definitely learned a few different things that would be taking a deeper look at, and looking for some more data points to help substantiate the recommendations that we're making, but ultimately feeling confident in what we're presenting.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Thank you to the team. So I kind of set my stage with my previous comments, so you know my position on it. And I think entertain a motion for approval if anybody is so inclined.
Trustee Reister. I make a motion to approve staff compensation as recommended by the village manager and the village council human resource committee as documented in the council packet.
Trustee Wagner, I support.
Trustee Reister on the motion and trustee Wagner on the support. Hearing no comments on a roll call vote. Trustee Keller,
He's muted.
Yes.
trustee Keller's yes. Trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Merrill,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Olson,
Yes.
trustee Holmes,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes,
Motion
the
passes.
motion carries. And to the team and to the staff that has been in this discussion here, we thank you for your services. We know this will go a long way, but you've already showed your dedication and commitment to this community prior to this. So thank you very much. Yeah, and we have item 10G.
Yes, as part of the review from MML and those discussions, it is staff's recommendation, supported by the HR committee, to have the full village council rescind village policy 9.14 employee longevity. I would highlight for the record that this item impacts employees who are not within the police officers' collective bargaining agreement. The collective bargaining agreement does have a longevity clause that's different than this one, but this rescinding is for those employees that aren't covered by the collective bargaining agreement, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Trustee Reister, any questions?
No.
Trustee Olson,
I'm fine.
trustee Merrill,
No.
trustee Keller,
Oh, good.
trustee Wagner.
Just one comment. Thank you, President Frisbee, that this rescinding of the village policy was a component of our decision-making for the previously recommended staff compensation. I just wanted to make that known.
Thank you, Ryan. Trustee Holmes.
Just would like to follow up trustee Wagner's comments and say, I think it's a fair balance with what the compensation package is that has been approved with it rescinding this. So again, a very balanced approach, I think, towards looking at village compensation.
Very fine, thank you. With that, entertain a motion to rescind the village policy 9.14.
Trustee Holmes, I make a motion to accept staff's recommendation and rescind village policy 9.14 employee longevity. Easy for me to say.
Trustee
Here,
Merrill
second.
supporting.
Trustee Holmes making the motion, trustee Merrill with the support. Hearing no other comments, roll call vote. Trustee Olson,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Holmes,
Yes.
trustee Merrill,
Yes.
trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes.
And the motion passes.
Move on to item 11, our village manager report.
Yeah, so the one item that we wanted to highlight was an update. We did have a pre-construction meeting for the infrastructure project. We wanted to inform the council and the public that right now we're set to start that project on February 28th. That will start down by our Spruce Street lift station by Brady Township Hall. The project, we are going to do our absolute best to have communication in place with the community as we go with weekly updates put on the website and through our social media avenues, as well as we will, once we get into it, have a weekly contact, probably in this platform via Zoom or Microsoft Teams, with our business community to keep them apprised. Some things that might occur before February 28th will be the removal of trees along the route, because those trees need to be removed once we get into the construction phase of lifting sidewalks and cement. There are 4 trees we have identified that we'll work with the Parks and Rec group, and Trustee Merrill's assisted me with that. Those are the 2 in front of Jasper's and then 2 on Prairie Street that are on the north side, on each side of the pavilion that overlooks the pond by Vickers, and we'll appropriately get those trees placed. The other trees are at the point of maturity. They've been in 35 years, that those will just be removed. The other thing people will see in the village, part of this project has at minimum 3 signboards, the digital signboards where signs can be updated and as routes might be changed or indicating. Once we get into the project downtown, it'll certainly impact the truck routes. Will have to be diverted away from the village and et cetera. So we wanted to give the council and the public a heads up that they're going to see some signs, see some cones coming into the village here in the next month. If all goes well, they will see trees starting to come down. That's prepping that. Weekly updates will be set up through Facebook, along with weekly communications specific to the business community as well, giving them the opportunity for input and to assure that we did, like I had indicated on the 22nd Street project, it was a nice introductory type thing to these construction schedules. And I think Alex and Zach, his counterpart at Prime Newhoff, have established a relationship that I think, at least on our end, we will get communication out where it needs to be out. The totality of the project will go until calendar year 2022, the February, March or timeframe. Key aspects, I know everyone's really focused on downtown, not knowing where this pandemic goes, but certainly prayerful and hopeful that by June we're all back to normal. We did block out, there will be no construction within the downtown area June 1st through the June 16th. I have been in communication with Skip Knowles, reference the car show, to make sure that we can pull that off, barring everything else. So we are protecting that time frame in the area of downtown. And once we, as I said, come in the middle of February, we'll be updating people weekly. But I'll pause there and answer any questions that I can at this time. Or
Jim, I know this might be redundant, but if you would, for those that may be listening in the coming weeks, the project starts at the Washington Street station and ends at the Spruce Street lift station.
yeah, no, it's the exact opposite. They go from the Spruce Street station to the Washington Street station. So it'll come in on average, with the work they're doing with that interceptor, they'd be very happy to make 100 feet a day. We averaged about 127 feet on 22nd Street. The difference between 22nd Street and downtown is we're going to have a lot of aging infrastructure under the cement we're predicting we don't know about.
Yeah.
And in some areas, this project, the depths of it will be 20 feet down in the ground. So we've got 3 monitoring devices that'll be on buildings downtown to monitor everything. And it's going to be in depth. But at the end of the journey will be a completely new streetscape downtown. I mean, 14-foot sidewalks, cafe seating. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it puts the village of Vicksburg, not only infrastructure wise, in a better position, but the look of downtown as far as the sidewalks and streets it's going to be state of the art.
That's going to be win-win for us. Get the infrastructure, up to code and up to speed, and improve the facade and the look of the downtown. So I won't be so jealous when I go to Plainwell or some of the other communities, Holland and all that. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll just open it up. If there's any questions for Mr. Mallory, please just speak up in regards to this. No? Okay. So on item 12, citizens' comments.
Okay.
You see any?
Yep. Now we have a couple hands that have come up. So we will go to first Mr. Gisler and then Kathleen Wills. So Mr. Gisler, go ahead. You can
You're on mute.
There we go.
There you go.
I'm sorry, that came up in a different place in my screen. I just wanted to comment. I hadn't planned on saying anything after, what I said earlier, but my goodness, Jim, you gave a state of the village speech, and I am going to try to hit you up for a copy of that, because that had so many good things in it for all levels of government. I'd like to kind of have that in my pocket. I will never go anywhere with it and attribute it to you without getting your permission, but that was just spectacular. Thank you very much for the time and energy you not only put into your job with Vicksburg, but the time and energy that went into putting that summary of things together. It was impressive.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
All right. And now Kathleen Wills.
If you would, Kathleen, state your address, please.
And unmute.
Yep. She has to. She has to unmute from her own device. I've sent the button and the link that she can do it. So. Okay. Well,
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. First of all, thanks everybody for your service, and I'm gonna make this quick because of the time, but my first question is I wanna understand exactly how these grants were, do I understand correctly that you as a body determined who you were going to invite for grants? Because I never got any invitation to apply for a grant as a gym, which I would feel would be one of the top priorities along with restaurants, versus pottery shops and gift shops. So can you explain to me how those invitations were sent out and who decided?
Kathleen, if you want to give me a call tomorrow, this is a time for comments, actually not a question and answer period. So I'll be happy if you give me a call tomorrow to spend as much time as you need in that conversation.
Okay, so I guess my comments right now are I'm really confused about why the gym was not extended an opportunity for a grant. I'm really interested in when the next elections are. I'm really interested in where the archived videos are for these meetings. I would like to offer up to Mr. Sears, if he's still available, or to anybody else, that I can use the rec room to host conference type Zoom meetings where we can all watch these proceedings together. If anybody is having troubles accessing this commentary, I would be happy to host at the rec room. We can socially distance and all that, but you know, we're all kind of free to make those decisions, I believe. So yeah, if I'm not allowed to ask any questions at this point and I'm not going to be given any answers, then I would love to, what time can I see you tomorrow, Jim?
You can give me a call on my cell phone when works for you, and be happy to either set up a Zoom call and talk, or talk on the phone.
Okay, great. And we can, so, and where exactly are all the minutes when there are discussions about HR and all that kind of stuff? Where is the public available? You know, where can we see the discussions and the minutes and the records that go into your discussions on those matters?
Sure, I'll be happy to answer all those questions when you give me a call.
Okay, I will do. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you. I'm out.
Thank you, Ms. Wills. I'll go to trustees' time. See, Mr. Keller's looking like he's first up. Trustee Keller.
Did we have any more participants or no?
I don't,
Citizens?
there's other citizens listening, but no one at this point. I'll ask again, the two hands that were raised, we've called on.
Okay.
So, and I guess I'll state this, well, I mean, this is their opportunity to press it. And Jeff's on the phone, and obviously him with the press.
I don't want to be accused of violating anybody's opportunity to.
Yep, they've all had an
Able to issue a
opportunity, and no
comment,
one is raising a hand.
Okay. Just for the record, did Ms. Wills state her address? I don't know if I caught that or not.
I don't think she did. I'll
I'm assuming she's a resident of the village, so that's.
yeah, she
that's
lives
fine.
at Julie's house. Julie, do you know the address?
200 B.
B as in
That's
South
boy.
fine.
Main Street. 200 B as in boy, South Main Street, Vicksburg, Michigan.
That's fine. I assume she was a village resident, so. No, I just appreciate everything the staff has done over the last couple weeks, getting everything ready for this meeting. And we knew it was going to be a long meeting, and it was. So I just want to thank everybody, and also, you know, the people that did the audit. I think they did a heck of a job as well. So.
Trustee Olson.
Yes. I'm hesitant on bringing up the South County Fire Authority again. I don't want you folks to think that I'm beating a horse here or something, but I think it's important that we understand these people, and they're risking their lives every day for the betterment of our community, and give them praise. And before the meeting, spoke with Chief McMillan again, and astounded by some of the things I've learned in the last year. South County Fire Authority ran 1,100. That's 21 calls a week average, 90 calls a month. Think of those numbers. The first 6 days of the month, they recorded 30 runs. That's 5 runs a day. And that was up to the point where we, just before where we had the big fire south of Vicksburg on Silver Street. That house was a total loss. That fire, as of right now, is still undetermined where it's of its origin. The young woman who was living there, she works at the Shell station. There's been a GoFundMe page started for her and her spouse. The chief says they're starting up training, and right now they're averaging about 65 calls in the first 18 days of this month, as 78% of them are still medical. So with what we all know what's going on, it's not just car accidents, it's not just heart attacks, it's everything there is being thrown into the mix at this time. And someone a while back stated to me that they felt we were paying way too much for our fire department. And I can only say, I don't think we pay them enough. I don't think that we appreciate them enough. And it's kind of like Scott Sanderson and his team. Unless you see them out doing their job or driving around, you don't think that much about these people. And I've learned to appreciate them more than anything. So, Scott, you and your guys, Chief McMillan and all of his guys, I most definitely appreciate you. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, everyone, for the work you do.
Mr. Frisbee, you've had the same person on a phone call disconnected without a hand up, but now has re-entered and placed a hand up.
All right, we'll give them, it's a
I think
difficult format to get into, so we'll,
Yep, I think it's Mr. Steers. So if you go ahead and unmute yourself with *6, Mr. Steers. I don't see Mr. Steers hitting *6. I can do as I did 2 weeks ago and try contacting them verbally here, but it seems
Yeah. Oh, it does not work at all, nor
Okay.
with it when I push *9, as I had mentioned before, and I had mentioned it the last 3 meetings.
yeah. Well, it works on
Weird thing, isn't it?
John. It's
Weird.
it works *9. I saw your hand raised, so I'm gonna go ahead. The council's gonna be able to hear you because they're gonna show me a thumbs up that they do hear you. And then we'll start the 3 minutes. And just like a couple weeks ago here, I called your cell phone to have you be able to speak. So why don't you go ahead?
I want to remind the council that I was the one, not very long ago, that forced the council to retain the 3 minutes at the end of the meeting. Patting themselves on the back and how transparent they are and everything. It's pretty much because I shamed the council into putting it on. And I'm also shaming the council right now as I talked to a planning commission member who said, well, you know, we got rid of that 3 minutes that you were speaking on the end of these meetings and laughed about it in my face, basically. And, you know, kind of said, gee, I'm sorry you're having a problem. Moving on to the minutes of the last minutes that you just approved, my name was put in parentheses that I was not inside the village. And Colin Bailey, who seems to be an esteemed member of the village, said that, you know, I ought to get a map and understand, you know, who's in the village and who isn't. I don't know if I've been here 30 plus years. And I spent I don't know how many years of those volunteering down at the Vicksburg Historical Society. And I realized that that's not much of a thing. It's just, you know, since we did the Tuesday guys and we, you know, spent a lot of time, I spent a lot of, you know, my material and everything. We had a great time. But also, when I was down there, I really got to know, and especially through the other village manager who obviously was crucified for no good reason, in my opinion, and got blamed for everything that ever happened in the village. I got to know him pretty well. And I am a little bit confused as to why in the minutes you would try to separate who's in the village and who isn't. You know, I might have said to everybody that the ground was polluted where you were growing crops and giving them to kids there at the market, and that the water was polluted, and we all knew that. You know, and that everybody knew that for years, but I really am confused as to when I, outside the village, tell you that a $10 million project coming up the Sprinkle Road
you guys are patting yourself on the back and saying, "Oh, we're such great freaking business forecasters." But for 3 years, you won't answer one question on where you're going to get that 10 million or who's going to be affected by that project, whether it be the SCSWA at Barton or on the other side over here. So when you are talking about things, folks, it really goes to your integrity. That's all my 3 minutes. I'm out.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Steers hung up, so.
That's fine. His 3 minutes were up. So let's move on to trustee Reister.
I think that I've said everything that I'm gonna say tonight. Thank you.
Trustee Merrill.
I just had a question. Was there any money left for businesses in Vicksburg for that program, or is it done?
No, that
Because I
was,
don't have a hard copy in front of me.
if we're talking about the grant, the $40,000, it is, I don't know how to, no, there's none left is the answer. It was all,
Okay.
it's distributed to amongst the 14 businesses.
Okay, I didn't have a hard copy in front of me. Thank you.
Trustee Holmes.
I'd like to follow up trustee Olson's comments and thanking both Chief Sanderson and Chief McMillan, their staffs for supporting a young lady's 88th birthday on Sunday by having their teams do a drive-by. And I'll tell you, there wasn't a dry eye in the group, and everyone was just tickled that the village would think enough to do this. And Norma Palmer is one of the nicest people that lives in the village. And I just wanted to say thanks to everybody for making her birthday a little bit more special in the middle of this pandemic. Would also like to say, we're returning back to normal. You know how you can tell? It's Little League sign-up time. So people are optimistic.
All right.
And I'm going to put it to Mr. Mallory that he officiates one game this year down at the Little League Diamonds. I know it's tough for you, Jeff. I've seen you on a field before, but you call balls and strikes pretty good. I'll just say that.
The Little League baseball crowd and social media are getting two areas that are tough to participate in.
And the last thing I'd like to say, Gail, is that you mentioned having issues with your vaccination.
Yeah.
If my mother applied online, same thing, no call. We called the county health department directly. I got the number right here. I can give it to you if you want to call tomorrow. They'll register you like that.
I'm registered on a waiting list.
Are you okay? I just want to make sure you're okay. So thank
Yeah,
you.
I just can't get the appointment is all.
Okay.
Thank you though. Thank you, Rick.
You bet.
Trustee Wagner.
No additional comments this evening. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I'll keep it short myself. It's been a busy day. I appreciate everybody's due diligence and all the discussions we've had from the HR group and finance group and everybody involved in this, and then especially Jim Mallory and his staff, Michelle and Denise and Scott Sanderson and Randy. I knew I was leaving somebody out, but y'all do an awful lot for this community with a little workforce. So we appreciate everything you do every day. Keep up the good work. And with that, I'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
And
Have a
Jeff,
good evening.
I'll stick on here. Well, gonna move Jeff and so we can see him. Just one quick second.
Good evening, Jim.
What? Yeah, just a second here. And then there's two people I gotta.